Shalom, Israel. So we're gonna talk about the Most High in His cosmic form because a lot of us we never really understand that, and a lot of Hebrews we borrow a lot of things from Christianity. So even though we say we are not into Christianity, we get out of it and stuff like that. A lot of the traditions in the Hebrew really are from Christianity. Now, understanding the Most High, we have to understand His nature. We have to understand wisdom, right? And wisdom comes in two. All right, so whatever you see here on the opposite side is the opposite of what is around here. So if here is heat, around here is going to be cold. If this is light, around here is going to be dark. If this is day, around here is going to be night. So you get the point of it. So one side of it is the antithesis of the other side. You understand? They don't coexist. One puts an end to the other. So if this is marriage, what is on the opposite side of the coin? Adultery, right? We need to understand how this works. So I'm just gonna deal with one scripture first, mainly, and build everything on that. If it says, "Do not sit with another man's wife," even though it is talking to the man, obviously, but in a more subtle form, it is also talking to the woman. How? All right. Do not sit with another man's wife. So if you're telling me not to sit with another man's wife, then on the contrary, you're also telling another man's wife to not sit with another man apart from her husband. So it works both ways, right? Now, how does this adultery work? Okay, here's marriage. Think of an iceberg, right? So above the surface, this is what we see, marriage. But beneath, where you cannot see, there are different factors, things that complement the marriage. Peace, love, kindness, understanding, knowledge, all of these things, they support the marriage. They keep building the marriage. They are the foundations of the marriage, right? No, on the opposite side, there's adultery. So the only thing we see up here is the adultery. But what is the what is triggering the adultery? It can come from many different things. Nostalgia, envy, jealousy, things of that nature. Lust, desires, covetousness, all of that. Right? So even though up here there's only adultery, guess what? We need to understand the science. When I say science, I mean the nature or the knowledge of what we see here. So there's the seen and there's the unseen part of it, right? So back to where it says, don't sit with another man's wife or don't sit with another man apart from your husband. What usually happens, right? When you have a problem with your boyfriend, your husband, whatever you call him, right? What you normally want to do is you want to go speak with his friend. Okay, you want to speak with his friend. And not only that, you want to speak with his friend while having a drink, right? Now, how do you know that his friend is not envious of him, right? And is waiting for the opportunity. Is waiting for the opportunity to have something over your husband, which is his friend. And this is the perfect opportunity. Guess what? The adversary knows this, and I'm talking about the spiritual one now, not just the friend that is an adversary to your husband, but I'm talking about the unseen forces, what is taking place. So guess what? The adultery in him and the adultery in you, in your flesh and in his flesh, they are what is going to come together. They are attracting each other, right? And that's why you see you keep going more and more, and the more you speak with his friend, the more comfortable you get. It's not you comfortable with that person. The person might not even be your type physically, but guess what? When the adultery spirit is working, it doesn't matter if the person is your type or not. How many people you know are in relationship with people who are not their types? Because the relationship was created from the wrong place. How many people cheated on a person that they would never be with? Because what? It came from the wrong place. It was not something done out of love or compassion or kindness or, you understand? It was coming from another source. So we need to see what is at the source of the things that we're doing. And this is what a lot of people don't understand. A lot of times you have an illicit affair outside of your marriage. You know what happens? As soon as this man understand that you and your husband broke up, guess what? You and him broke up. Because the only reason it was being fed was because it was the adultery spirit. Now that your husband is gone, there's no more adultery spirit. So what happens to the adultery in his flesh? It's gonna fade. What happens to the adultery in your flesh? It's gonna fade because it's not finding that mirror to attract to itself. Right? So you need to understand that. You need to understand energy. And the next thing about adultery is sometimes, even though the law says thou shalt not commit adultery, sometimes we are quick to condemn. No, that's not the spirit. A person can be genuinely loyal, faithful, and these things do happen. That's why you have to go to the root to see what was that driving force. Because there are some people who are just genuine, not genuine, sorry, they are just naturally, they have that spirit that they cannot control. You understand? They keep doing that. That's then you know that okay, that's a person that you wouldn't want to reconcile a relationship with. But you can be with a woman, for example, she's genuine, you know what I mean? But guess what? She was broken. Probably her mom died, her son is sick, or something terrible happened in her life. She's broken. She's not in her right state of mind, and she can make poor decision at that time. It's not that the person intentionally said that, okay, I'm gonna go cheat on my husband. No. Sometimes they get caught up, and that's why I said if you look, you examine the adultery, the cause of it, then you can tell that okay, one, you definitely have to forgive, right? Forgive is not about the other person, it's for yourself. So that is a must. Forgiveness is a must because it's for you, not for the person you are forgiving. All right? Now, the next thing is reconciliation. If you want to reconcile that relationship, well, that's up to you as the individual. All right? So if you examine it, then you know that, okay, this is really not this person. It is something that happened that she didn't really understand or he didn't really understand. And, get lost in the thoughts, the sensations, everything that came over them. And they followed on. They got led by those thoughts. They did not know how to, make a proper distinction. Right? So it's not about condemning a person for the adultery. Right? We have to first understand. And this is why a lot of us are not able to deal with deliverance or things like that, or healing, or to not make a person feel so condemned, because most of the times people are condemned, even them, they condemn their own selves. You understand? And it does what? It keeps them going down that road and cannot come back because they don't have the ability to face what's really happening to them. So they just once they start that sin, they keep going down that road and never come back. Right? And what usually happens is when you commit one sin, because the way you feel, it makes you want to connect with people who are doing the same things, not people to show you that, hey, this was wrong, or come back up, get back up, be that king you're supposed to be that queen you're supposed to be. You understand? That happened, but that's not what you are. You understand? That's not what you are. So yeah. So we need to be careful of how we deal with these things, right? So once you can confess what has happened to you and understand that you are not your experience, you are the one that is aware of your experience, guess what? It will cause you to be more liberated inside rather than being bondage to your own transgression. You don't want to be subjected. You don't want to be subjected to those thoughts. You understand? Otherwise, you're just going to keep cycling them. Okay? So we need to understand that about adultery and marriage and people in marriages or relationships, whatever you call it. You just need to be conscious of the things you do, how you go about doing it. Because you can be doing something with a pure intention, but it doesn't mean that it is not wrong just because your intentions are pure. You understand? A lot of you women also, when you're not in a certain state of mind, you always want to go about proving if your husband cares for you. but you always do it in a wrong way. Stop trying to prove that through jealousy. Stop trying to do things to make him react to what you're doing, to say, okay, yes, he cares for me. You know what I mean? Because you don't know when, you're not going to know when to stop. This is why sometimes you do that and you end up doing the adultery, because you're using another man to make him jealous. It's not like you're texting your mother or your sister and making him think that you're talking to some other guy. You are doing things with other men just to strike a reaction out of him. You sisters need to be mindful of that. And also men who are doing these things, you need to do that too. All right, we need to be mindful of our actions. But at the same time, when we do err, right? Because we're humans. When we do err, we have to get back up. It's not about the fall, it is the rise after the fall. Many people fell but never got back up. We need to stop seeing this in our Hebrew community. We need to protect marriages. We need to protect people getting involved with each other. Give them the proper knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. A lot of us have knowledge, but we don't understand what we think we know. And that's the problem, right? We, like I said, we borrowed many customs, many traditions from the Christian community, from this culture, and we're trying to integrate it into this biblical understanding. And that's causing a lot of problem. You understand? You come in to the truth, now you have to change. You don't come in with the same cultural belief or your same conditioned thoughts and ideas and everything. You cannot come in with that. That's why I said be separate. So this is just to show you how marriage and adultery works. You understand? Because the Most High created things in two, right? So it takes one to know the other. So adultery is the antithesis of marriage. So we need to understand that. Shalom.